Okay, so we had to start from this topic, ethical issue. So I told you before also that in case of biotechnology, what we are doing, we are exploiting the animals and plant and rest of the other organism to get our gene of interest, or we can say that ultimately protein or any kind of phenotype. So we are exploiting a lot of biological material. Either it would be any kind of animal or plant or any insect or any kind of organism. So there should be some ethical issues associated with all these organisms, and these ethical issues will also be associated with the consumer also. Means after some time what will happen if some protein will be expressed by the process of these gene manipulations or by using this biotechnological tools, then some ethical issues are also associated with those also. Means the ethical issues are associated for those animals on which we are doing the experiment, as well as the ethical issues are also associated with the consumer. Means the human being, or sometimes the cattle. Suppose we are producing the plant which is having the extra nutritional value, and if we are eating those, then the ethical issue will be associated with that plant, because we are manipulating the gene, we are disturbing the natural resource. And after that also, what we are doing, we are eating some abnormal things. Means those are not natural one, we are manipulating the gene. It means we are getting unnatural thing, although the product is natural. But since we are producing the the another product in another organism which was not previously produced naturally, so here also ethical issues will also be there. So we will see here some points under this ethical issue. Since testing drugs, chemicals, vaccines and various products on animals is mostly harmful for animals. So suppose we are going to test the dose of the drug. We are going to check any chemical on animals first. First trial of any other drug or chemical or vaccine or any kind of product which is going to be used by the human purpose. So all these things first will be tested on animals. So what happens? Most of the time, those will be harmful. Suppose we are using we are using the different amounts of drugs. So some of the amounts of drug will be harmful to that animal. Some of the amount of vaccine will be harmful to that animal. So here we just see that when we are testing the drug, chemical or vaccine or various kind of products, then first experimental model would be any of the animal. So these would be most of the time harmful to that animal. So some ethical standards are required to evaluate the morality. So genetic modifications of the organism can have unpredictable results. It may harm the ecosystem too. So what happens? Suppose we are doing the gene manipulation in any of the mice, and if that animal will be released in the natural natural environment, then after that animal will breed, and different kinds of animal will be produced. So what happens? Due to this genetic modification, what we are doing, we are going to disturb the ecosystem also, because we are producing the another kind of organism. Another kind of organism means the organism which is having the expression of an extra gene which comes from any of the source. If it means, if we are expressing the human gene in mice, if we are expressing the plant gene in mice, either we are expressing the insect gene into the plant, then it would be so much harmful for the ecosystem. If these organisms would be mixed with the natural resources, then it will disturb the ecosystem also. Okay, so here ethical issues are associated with all these experiments, although these are so much beneficial to us. Okay, now an organization and a government organization is there. The name of that government organization is GEAC, Engineering Approval Committee. So this is the government organization which makes the decision on GM research and safety of their products. So what happens? Suppose if I'm going to do any experiment on any of the organism for the gene manipulation, then for the whole experimental plan and for the result and rest of the things, I'll have to show to this government organization GEAC, and after that, after assessing my experiments, after assessing the product, this department or the organization will approve either this experiment I can do or not. So for any of the experiment which is going to be the manipulation for the manipulations of the gene or any extra product in organism, means if we are doing any of the genetic engineering in any of the organism, then we will have to take approval from this government organization GEAC, and this GEAC helps to maintain the ethical issues. Okay, it protects the ethics. Okay, so here this is an important issue in granting patents also. So here some issues are also associated with the patent. When you see here, it is debatable topic to provide grant in GM organization. So if you should know that if there is a rule that if there is a natural resource, it means if there is a naturally occurring organism, then we can't get any kind of patent for those. But if we are going for the gene manipulation, means we have changed the gene expression, we have done some genetic engineering. So other than the natural, we are producing an organism. So it is a debatable topic that it is certain that if we are going to get any kind of patent for the natural resources, then we can't get the patent for those. But if we are doing some gene manipulations, then the approval should be given or not. If grant should be given or not, this is a debatable topic, because ultimately we are manipulating a single gene out of the whole genome. So the grant should be given or not. It is a debatable topic. So again, an issue comes that the patent should be given to these GM organism or not. Okay, some people are against the patent of GMOs because of utilization of products or technologies by using naturally occurring genes. Because what we are doing, we are using the natural gene and we are manipulating the natural genome. So we are doing some manipulation. We are not doing anything extra in that gene. So if we are going to do anything extra, means if due to human intervention, if we are changing the gene sequence, if we are changing the natural things, then only the patent should be granted. So here a lot of debate occurs. Either the GM crops or GM animals, the patent has to be granted or not. Okay, so here again, an example is there. Rice is an important crop of India. You know that rice is mostly grown in Asia, and in Asia, especially India, China, Pakistan as the countries which are the major contributor of the rice production. So rice is an important crop of Asia, and basmati is a rice breed has been cultivated in India long before. Okay, and several incidences and documents reveal its origin in India. So there are different documents and incidences are there which proves that the basmati rice has been originated in India only. But due to all these technologies, what we are doing, the developed countries are exploiting these rules and regulations, and they are getting benefits. So we will see what kind of benefit the developed country has got in terms of this basmati. But in 1997, an American company got patent and trademark for this basmati rice. So previously, means there are different traditional documents which shows that this basmati, India is the origin of the basmati rice. But an American company, they tried to get the patent and they got it in 1997. And if they will get the patent, then all the rights they will get to for this rice, and they can sell it. Nobody can else other than the patentee can utilize that particular organism or variety. So here you could see that an American company in 1997 got patent for the basmati. But the origin of this basmati is India only, because there are certain documents. Okay, but those documents are not so much legal. Okay, that's why that American company got the patent. Several attempts have been made to receive the patent on Indian traditional herbal medicines. So we know that since a long ago, we are using the herbal medicines. We are utilizing different plants and their combinations to treat different diseases. So for those medicines, for the formula of those herbal medicines, the developed countries are exploiting for their patents. If anyone is getting that formula and get patents, then only that person will be able to utilize that particular formula, and that medicine, the patentee can only produce. Nobody else can provide. If suppose I have invented a herbal medicine and I am using that, and if I am not getting any patent, if I am not applying for any patent, and but another person who got this formula and got the and gets the patent for that particular formula of that particular herbal medicine, then if that person gets patent, then I although I am the inventor of that particular formula, but I will not be able to use that formula because that person has got the patent. So the patentee will get the right to produce that particular material. So here several attempts have been made to receive patent on the Indian traditional herbal medicines. Turmeric, in a lot of in a lot of diseases, we are using turmeric traditionally, and we are utilizing neem also for to treat different diseases. So what other countries what they are doing? They are getting patent from all these formulas, all these materials. Now we'll see another issue that is called as biopiracy. By the name we can understand, bio means associated with the living organism, or piracy means the copy. So what happens? Suppose a country is there which is being known for a particular thing, for a particular material. Then if anybody copies that particular formula, particular product, then if the person is getting the right to produce all those things, then the patentee will get the right. Okay, so here biopiracy is another issue under this, all these developmental issues. So suppose we are going to produce anything, then we need to get a patent. But again, there is an ethical issue. Again, ethical issues are there. Biopiracy is there. Patent laws are there. So different laws are there, which will give the right to the inventor. But if it would be exploited by anybody else, then it will be harmful for the inventor. The inventor will not be able to utilize that particular invention. So here, use of bioresources by multinational company and other organization without proper authorization from their native countries. Suppose a country is there which is producing good kind of mango. So we know that this country is having that particular kind of mango variety. And if another country, another developed country, or any company if gets patent for that particular material, then that company or that developed country will get the right for the production of that particular variety of the mango. So here, use of bioresources by multinational company and other organizations without proper authorization from their native countries is called biopiracy. If you are going to copy, or you are going to make a, if you are going to make a copy of the bioresource, and if you are going to get the right for that, then it would be called as biopiracy. So most of the financial here, some issues has been written. Most of the financially rich countries don't have a rich biodiversity and traditional knowledge. So financially rich countries means like America, UK, all these countries are considered as financially rich countries, and they don't have a rich biodiversity as India, China, and Africa are having. In contrast, developing and underdeveloping countries are rich in both in terms of bioresources. So what happens in case of developing and underdeveloping countries? They are having a they are having the rich bioresources. They are having the diverse varieties of the biological products. So what happens? All these rich countries are utilizing all these bioresources, and they are getting patent, they are getting rights for them, and they are exploiting. So what happens? But the advancement of the technologies in the biological system benefits the developed nations. So since the advanced, we know that in case of rich countries like America, UK, that what happens, they are having the advanced technologies, using which what they are doing, they are having the knowledge, they are having the education, they are having the advancement in their technologies. So what they are doing, they are utilizing all those bioresources. They are utilizing the diversity of these biomaterials from all these underdeveloped or developing countries, and they are getting benefit. Okay, and but the laws made under this section favors the nation of the biological products. So what happens? So if any of the developing or underdeveloping country wants to get the benefit of all these rules, then these countries can also get the right. So by using all these rules and regulations, the inventor, the developing country or underdeveloping country can get the right for a particular material, right for the particular formula, and he or she can protect his or her right. So nobody can else can exploit that formula or bioresource. Now we'll come on the topic PCR. I told you that PCR is a diagnostic procedure using which we are diagnosing different diseases. And I told you that this is a nucleic acid based technique. So in this PCR, what we are doing, we are going to amplify a particular gene. Suppose we want to detect a particular gene. So what we are doing, we are using some essential materials. I told you at that time that primers are the essential material using which we can amplify any of the gene. If we want to amplify, if we want to increase the number of nucleotide sequences of a particular gene, then we can do it by using the PCR. And PCR is what? Polymerase chain reaction. So by the name we can understand its main overall mechanism. PCR means polymerase chain reaction, means here polymerization is taking place, and this polymerization process is taking place in a chain like manner. So one by one, the chain reaction will happen up to when the any of the product is not being consumed up to a certain limit. So PCR is a procedure in which we are going to amplify a particular gene. Okay, so we will see the procedure and the required basic requirement or required material. So PCR stands for the polymerase chain reaction. In this reaction, multiple copies of a gene or DNA fragment of interest or of the desired site and location is synthesized in vitro using following components. So what we are doing, suppose if suppose I have got an information for a particular gene. So if I want to amplify, or if I want to make copies of that particular gene in a particular number, then what we will do, we will go for the polymerase chain reaction. So that particular fragment or that particular gene of interest, what I will do, I will utilize some materials using which using a particular machine in different conditions, I will get multiple copies of that particular fragment. So here it has been written, in this reaction multiple copies of gene. So multiple copies we can make of what? Of the DNA fragment or a gene. So this is why I said that PCR is a nucleic acid based diagnostic technology. Of the so gene of interest means what? The fragment of the DNA or a gene we can amplify. We can amplification means we can increase the number, increase the copies of desired size. If I want to go for the PCR, For 100 base pairs, I can do it. If I want to make the multiple copies of 500 base pair, I can do it. If I want to make multiple copies of 1000 base pair, I can do it. So for a particular DNA fragment of desired size and desired location, I can do the PCR. So we will see further that what would be the basic requirement for this PCR reaction. First one is the primer. So what is primer? I told you at that time also that primers are the basic material for the PCR. So PCR has small chemically synthesized single stranded DNA, and this DNA will be complementary to the both the borders of the required gene or the desired gene. So if I want to go for the PCR of that particular DNA, then what I'll do, I'll make the primer. And what is the primer? Primer is nothing but just the single stranded DNA, and that particular DNA will be based on the complementary of that particular DNA fragment for which I am going to amplify that. Okay, and those primers, we will make two primers, means a pair of primer will be synthesized. One will decide the right side of the boundary, and the another one will decide the left side of the boundary. So both the primers I will synthesize chemically, that will be the complementary of the borders of the gene of interest, and the first primer will be called as forward primer, and the another primer of that pair will be called as reverse primer. Okay, so a pair of primer will be required. The second thing, I'll show you the primer and the whole procedure by a figure also. So here, another basic material which will be required, that is called as DNA polymerase. You know that DNA polymerase is also required for the DNA replication. So whenever we are going for the extension of the primers, we are going to replicate the DNA, then an enzyme will be required, and this enzyme is DNA polymerase. So this DNA polymerase extends the primer on the DNA by adding nucleotides and can complement can these nucleotides, the new nucleotides will come and will become the complementary of that DNA. Suppose the primer is going to be extended, then DNA polymerase will bind on that, and different nucleotides will come one by one based on the complementary of that particular DNA or particular DNA segment. So DNA polymerase, what it will do, it will polymerize the nucleotide, it will make the new chain on the previous stretch of the DNA. Now DNTPs, dinucleotide triphosphate. So here DNTPs are what? You know that for to make new chain, these nucleotide triphosphates will be required, or ultimately nucleotides will be required. So we are going to make new strand of the DNA. That's why we are going to make different numbers of that particular gene of interest. That's why we will be required a basic material to construct the new strand. So for the construction of new strand, we need to have the nucleotide. So what we are doing, we will put the nucleotide. So you know that 4 types of nucleotides will be required for the formation of the DNA. So, okay, so you know that for A, the complementary nucleotide would be T. For T, the complementary nucleotide will be A. For G, the complementary nucleotide will be C. For C, the complementary nucleotide will be G. So what will happen? Based on the complementary sequence of the gene of interest, new nucleotides will come and will make the hydrogen bond. So for that purpose, we need to have all these 4 kinds of nucleotides. So what we will do, we will use all these 4 types of DNTPs or dinucleotide triphosphates or nucleotides. So what we will do, we will put DATP, DGTP, GCTP, GTTP. So what are all these materials? These are nothing but all these 4 types of nucleotides to make the new strand. Now the buffer. So for any of the reaction, we know that some salts will be required, a particular pH will be required, so and particular condition will be required. So that particular solution will be called as buffer here. So what is buffer? Buffer is just the solution which contains salt or chemicals which provides a specific environment for the extension of new strands. So since we are going to make new copies of the DNA, so what we need to have, we need to have a particular environment. That particular environment will support the reaction, will support the polymerase chain reaction to make the new strand. And in last, we need to have the genomic DNA. Suppose I want to I want to get the multiple copy of a particular gene from the human being. So what I need to have the basic material. I need to have the genomic DNA of that particular organism, means the human being. If I'm going to get the stretch, or if I'm going to make the multiple copies of the gene of any of the bacteria, then what I need to have? I need to have the genomic DNA of bacteria. Then only I can make its copy. It means then only I can make the multiple copies of the particular gene of that particular bacteria. So I need to have the genomic DNA from the source to which I am going to amplify the particular gene. Okay, and now so we have seen that basically 5 materials will be required for this PCR. So all these 5 materials are, you just see, primers, DNA polymerase, DNTPs, buffers, and genomic DNA. So all these 5 materials, what we will do? We will put in a tube in a reaction as a reaction mixture. So what we need to have? We need to have a small tube. In that particular small tube, we will put the primer, we will put DNA polymerase, we will put DNTPs, we will put buffer, and in last we will put the genomic DNA. After that, what we will do? We will use a machine. That machine is called as thermocycler. Thermocycler, and by the name we can understand. Thermo means somehow associated with the temperature, and cycler means the cyclic reaction. So in this machine, what happens? Only temperature is maintained. Means what happens? All these 5 materials will be provided different temperatures at different time point. So for different time points, we will provide different temperature, and by providing different temperatures for different time point, the extension of the primer will occur, and after that a new strand will be formed, and again a new strand will be formed. I'll show you how it occurs. So first we will see what is the condition. Okay, so basically you will have to remember all these 5 materials: primer, DNA polymerase, DNTPs, and buffer. So in objective type question, they may ask that what things will be required for the PCR reaction. So you will have to remember all these materials. In theoretical kind of question, they will ask what is the objective of PCR. Okay, so the objective of the PCR is to get the multiple copies of a DNA fragment of the desired size. This one is the objective. Okay, and if the condition is being asked, that what would be the condition for the PCR to make the multiple copies of gene of interest or DNA fragment, then this one is the condition. So mixture of above component, I told you that all these 5 materials will be mixed in a tube. So we will make the mixture and this mixture will be put in the tube, and this tube will be exposed to different temperature conditions on a machine, and this machine is called thermocycler. Okay, so we will put all these 5 materials on thermocycler. The condition will be this one. You could see here, this one is the general rule. Okay, so first temperature we will provide here 94 degrees centigrade. So first temperature we will provide to that particular mixture will be 94 degrees centigrade, and that particular temperature will be called as initiation. So this 94 degrees centigrade will be provided for 3 minutes, will be called as initiation. So this one is the initiation of the reaction, or initiation or denaturation, initial denaturation will also be set for this particular temperature. So initiation or initial denaturation, it will be set, and it will run for a one cycle. Means after 94, after 3 minutes at this 94 degrees centigrade, it will move to the next cycle. Means next temperature. Okay, and here we could see that three different temperatures are there: denaturation, annealing, and extension. Three different temperatures. You just see 94 degrees centigrade, 60 degrees centigrade, and 72 degrees centigrade. So again, you just see that at 94 degrees centigrade, it will come again at a particular stage of this reaction, that is called as denaturation. And this denaturation will occur at 94 degrees centigrade, means at the same temperature, but for 30 degrees centigrade. And here annealing will occur. Annealing means attachment. Okay, so I'll show you why this why all these steps are called as denaturation, annealing, and extension. There is a particular reason for that. So here the next temperature will be called as annealing, and generally it occurs at 60 degrees centigrade for 30 degrees centigrade, 30 seconds. So you will have to remember the name of the step, the temperature, as well as the time. So here, after this annealing, extension occurs, and extension occurs at 72 degrees centigrade. And here we are calculating the time based on the size of the desired fragment. And here the size we are calculating based on this particular number. You just see 1 minute per 1000 base pair. Means suppose if I am going to amplify the gene, if I am going to multiple copies of a gene or DNA fragment of 1000 base pair, then I will provide this temperature for 1 minute. If I am going to amplify or make the copy of the fragment of 500 base pair, then I will provide half minute. If I am going to amplify 2000 base pair, then I will provide 2 minutes. So what will happen after that? After the extension, again the denaturation will be started. So it will be a cyclic reaction. You just see it will run for 40 cycles. Means what will happen? Denaturation will occur for 30 seconds. Annealing will occur for 30 seconds. Extension will occur for 1 minute per kb. And here after that, again denaturation will be started. Denaturation, annealing, extension, then again denaturation, annealing, extension, then again denaturation, annealing, extension. So all these steps will be followed for 40 cycles. So you just see this previous temperature, this initiation will be done for only one cycle. It is for 3 minutes, but this one, all these steps will be followed. Means denaturation, annealing, and extension will run for 40 cycles. So these are the standard conditions using which we are making different copies, and we will see that how we are using all these 5 kinds of materials and providing all these conditions, and we can get multiple copies. So this is the representation of this whole reaction. You just see here, we have put the genomic DNA. So this one is the genomic DNA. You know that the genomic DNA is so much long. So suppose I want to make multiple copies of this particular segment. You just see I am zooming it so that you can see it clearly. Suppose this one is the genomic DNA. This one is the genomic DNA. Out of this long strand, I want to make multiple copies of this particular segment. Okay, suppose I want to amplify the insulin gene. So what we will do, I will select this particular gene, the boundary of this gene. Okay, and this is the zoomed structure of this insulin gene. So here, out of the whole genomic DNA, this one is the boundary of this insulin gene. So what I'll do, I'll go for the denaturation process or initial denaturation process or the initiation process. You just see here, when I will provide the temperature 94 degrees centigrade. So it will be called as initiation or initial denaturation for 3 minutes. Then what will happen? When I'm providing 94 degrees centigrade, then both the strands will be broken. Then what will happen? The hydrogen bond will be broken. So both the strands of this genomic DNA will be broken. You just see both of these fragments, both of these strands will be separated due to breaking of this hydrogen bond. So both the strands will be separated. You just see. So this one is the initial denaturation. After that, the whole genomic DNA will be separated, and after that, after initial denaturation, normal denaturation comes. So due to the same temperature, it will be remain same. After that, annealing occurs. Okay, I told you annealing. Annealing means binding or fusing, okay, or attachment. So in this stage, annealing, what will happen? I have used primers. I told you we will make two different primers. Means we will make a pair of primer. One primer will have the boundary of the left side, and another primer will have the boundary of right side of our gene of interest. So suppose I want to express, I want to make the copy of this particular segment. Then what I need to have? I need to have a pair of primer. You just see one primer and another primer. One primer binds with this one pair sorry one primer of this pair binds with this strand, and another primer of the pair binds with this fragment. You just see. So this annealing temperature means 60 degrees centigrade for 30 second. It will provide the condition in the buffer, so that due to hybridization, due to complementary basis, this primer will bind here. Okay, so this particular step will be called as annealing. Why this particular step is called as annealing? Because you just see the primers have been annealed. The primers have got attached with these both of these fragments. So multiples of primers we are using. Those primers will attach on different fragments of the genomic DNA. Since we are isolating DNA from multiple of the cells, so multiple of the genomic DNA would be there, and multiple of the primers we are using. So in annealing, this condition will occur, and after that we are providing 72 degrees centigrade, and we are providing the time 1 minute per 1,000 base pair. So on this temperature, extension occurs. Extension means what? Since we have put the DNA polymerase, and I told you what it does. It polymerizes the nucleotide. So what will happen? This DNA polymerase will bind on this primer and will move in forward direction. You know that DNA polymerase moves from 5' direction to 3' direction. So what will happen? You just see DNA polymerase as like replication. DNA polymerase moves. So here you just see this DNA polymerase will move from this side to this side, and this DNA polymerase move from this side to this side, and both of these DNA polymerase move in the direction of 5' to 3'. You just see here it is moving from 5' to 3' direction, and here also you just see DNA polymerase is moving from 5' to 3' direction. And by this movement, what will happen? Since we have put 4 types of DNTPs, so different DNTPs will come here, and based on complementary nucleotides, one by one new DNTPs will bind here, and here a new strand will be synthesized. So here the extension of this primer occurs. Here the primer polymerizes. That's why this procedure is called as extension. This step is called as extension. So this extension, you will have to remember the condition 72 degrees centigrade and the time 1 minute per kb, per kilo base pair, or per 1,000 base pair. So you just see after this extension procedure, you just see previously we had a single strand of DNA. Now we are having 2 strands of DNA. Again, on second cycle, what will happen? In the last of this cycle, 4 copies will be formed, and after this cycle 8 copies will be formed. So after 40 cycles, millions of the copies of the DNA fragment will occur. So by this procedure, by this PCR, we can have multiple copies of the gene of interest. I'll show you in this figure 2 so that you can understand it completely too. PCR. PCR reaction. So you could see here the whole procedure. This one is the thermocycler and these are the conditions. So how we are making the new multiple of these new copies, you could see here. You just see this one is the DNA sample, this one is the primer, these are the nucleotides, this one is the PCR tube, this one is the buffer, and this one is the DNA polymerase. And you just see the whole procedure PCR, and this one is the thermocycler, this one is the machine on which we are providing different temperatures. And when we are going to see how it occurs, means how the multiple copies will be formed, you just see this one is the original DNA. And what happens as like replication, you just see in first cycle what will happen, two copies will be formed. On second cycle what will happen, four copies will be formed. All these four copies will be multiplied in the next cycle into 8, and again 8 will be multiplied into 16. So after this PCR, what we will get, we will get the multiple millions of the copies of that particular fragment. So by this procedure we can have the multiple copies of our gene of interest.